The siege on the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. today was sickening and frightening for so many to watch. And for those who were inside that hallowed building, the Capitol, it was terrifying. We are joined now by San Mateo County's Congresswoman Jackie Spear, who was there on the House floor as rioters tried to break in. First of all, Congresswoman Spear, we are so glad you are okay. And we assume all your staff is fine too?
Yes, staff is fine. Virtually everyone is fine in the Capitol building, with the exception of a couple of Capitol police officers that were injured, and the one woman who was shot and succumbed.
Take us through how the chaos began for you. I know you were, in that debate, and people started banging on doors. Walk us through what happened.
So what happened first, unbeknownst to all of us, was Speaker Pelosi was escorted out, and then I saw Steny Hoyer, the majority whip, escorted out. So I knew something was happening. And then there was an announcement made that the Capitol had been breached, that we should sit in our seats and wait, that we should get out the gas masks. And I have one here to show you. It's in this packing like this. And then when you open it up, you can hear this thing taking off. And then
Congresswoman, did they give that to you anticipating something could happen today?
No, they are in the under the seats in the gallery and on the floor. So, I mean, I've never known that they were there, but they are there precisely for circumstances like that. And then eventually they asked us to move. So we scurried around the gallery, and then they were pounding on the door. So they told us to, lie down on the marble floors, which we did. And then there was a shot that I heard, and then there were, probably 8 or 10 police officers in the chamber calling out, frankly, conflicting orders, and but they were all armed. So I certainly was anxious, but I knew that we had the police officers there who could, in fact, use their guns if they needed to.
So you were hiding on the floor in the House chamber. I got to ask you, you're a survivor. You were shot in Jonestown. But how did today compare?
Well, I certainly had a flashback. I have to be honest with you. But when I was on that airstrip, we had no police officers with us. We had no guns. So we had no way to protect ourselves. There was the sense that, unless this was a cavalcade of terrorists with guns, that we would be secured. Now, there was pounding going up on our third level, which then concerned all of us because that suggested that they had breached the third level of the Capitol. And sure enough, when they finally did allow us to depart, as we walked out, there were probably 8 to 10 persons lying flat down on the marble floor. And there's been a series of those photos that have been shown on TV. We then had to travel into staircases for a very long period of time and then get to a secure location where we've spent the last, 5 hours. I've just now returned to my office, and the anticipated beginning, or resuming, I should say, of the debate on Arizona's vote will take place starting at 5 o'clock your time, 8 o'clock my time.
Do you expect that process to actually go smoother now? Because we have heard some Republican members who were going to object to the results in some states are now dropping those objections. Do you think today's events are actually bringing everybody together?
Well, certainly the day's events have sobered up some of my colleagues who thought this political theater was good for them and their base. I don't know how anyone can look at what happened here and suggest that somehow this is good for America. The Capitol hasn't been breached since 1814, when the British came in and burned the Capitol down. And now we have Americans who think that they can violate the law, they can take unlawful acts, they can take property from the Capitol, and that's okay. And a president that, frankly, incited them to do just that.
Given how you feel about that, I know you also tweeted that you believe the 25th Amendment should be invoked to remove President Trump, even though he only has 2 weeks left in office before President-elect Biden is inaugurated. Is that what you're calling for? Do you think that will bring perhaps further division?
So he has only been back in Washington for 6 days, and look what's happened. I do not believe that it is safe for our country. I believe that he is not effective as commander in chief. In fact, it was not President Trump, but it was Vice President Pence who authorized the National Guard in D.C. to assist. So that would suggest to me that the president has basically washed his hands, that he takes some sadistic like to the fact that all these people with Trump signs are coming up to the Capitol and making themselves heard. I actually think that he relishes it. And I think the tweets this afternoon would suggest that his weak effort at trying to calm the terrorists, and they're domestic terrorists. They were a mob. He did it in a manner that was lackluster. He basically said, oh, let's go home and be peaceful. I know this is a terrible thing. They have stolen the election from us. I mean, he continues to lie with such alacrity that he has to be stopped. And I'm afraid of what he's going to do in the next 2 weeks.
Congresswoman Jackie Spear on Capitol Hill today when all this transpired, and still there now to continue the process of certifying the Electoral College results. Thank you so much for spending the time to talk with us. And again, very happy that you are all right. Take care.
Thank you, Kristen.